It's a normal evening. You sit in front of the screen, open Netflix, Max, or whatever streaming app you use. There are 10,000 options staring back at you. The algorithm is aggressively pushing fresh true crime documentaries. Your friends are texting about a massive new sci-fi show. The whole internet is screaming about the latest masterpiece that everyone must watch. And you just scroll through this endless feed for 40 minutes. You feel this dull irritation growing inside. You sigh heavily. And, for the 20th time, you put on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or Modern Family, or the extended cut of The Lord of the Rings, a movie where you literally know every single line and remember exactly when the main character is going to raise an eyebrow, and someone will definitely ask you, "Listen, why are you watching this again?" There's zero suspense. You know all the jokes by heart. Watch something new. Broaden your horizons. Usually, in this moment, we awkwardly shrug and mumble something like, "It's just a habit," or "I just needed to turn my brain off." We think it's our own personal weakness, intellectual laziness, that we simply don't have the willpower to consume complex content. But right now, I want you to stop blaming yourself, because constantly rewatching the same thing has absolutely nothing to do with laziness, and it's not about having bad taste. It is pure psychology and hard biology. Your brain, in that exact moment, is executing a highly complex crisis management operation to save your mental health. And until you understand exactly what it's saving you from, you'll keep thinking you're just a procrastinator, wasting your life on old sitcoms. I'm going to break down 4 hidden mechanisms behind why we hit the replay button again and again. I guarantee you'll recognize yourself in at least one of them so accurately, it might actually feel a little uncomfortable. And along the way, we'll figure out why the modern world literally forces us to hide in familiar stories. Let's start with the basics. We live in an era of manic obsession with novelty. New information, new trends, new faces on your feed. Our nervous system simply didn't evolve to digest these kinds of volumes. Every single day, we make thousands of micro decisions, from how to reply to a passive-aggressive work email to what to buy for dinner. By the evening, we hit what neuroscientists call decision fatigue. And this is where the first type of rewatchers enters the stage. Let's call them the comfort seekers. For these people, real life right now feels way too unpredictable. Work stress, the economy is shaking, relationships demand attention, the daily news causes permanent background anxiety, the brain is constantly in threat scanning mode. It desperately lacks stability. It needs a safe harbor where the rules of the game are perfectly clear and never change. In psychology, this is called predictability bias. When the real world around you becomes too chaotic, the brain frantically searches for an environment it can completely control. When you turn on a familiar show, you know exactly how the episode ends. You know the hero survives. You know exactly what minute that awkward silence is going to happen. And this absolute certainty acts on your exhausted nervous system like a heavy, warm blanket in a freezing room. In that moment, your cortisol level, the stress hormone, physically drops. You don't even care about the plot as such. You care about the feeling of emotional safety. By pressing play, it's like you're coming home after a long, hard day, locking the door with 2 deadbolts and exhaling. Nothing can hurt me here. Everything is exactly the way it should be. But there is another extreme. What if it's not about stress at all? What if the problem lies in the very mechanics of how we consume information? This brings us to the second type, the cognitive restorers. These are people whose jobs or daily lives require a colossal amount of mental effort. Constant analysis, negotiations, solving other people's problems, trying to make ends meet. By the evening, their prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for willpower, focus, and complex analysis, is simply burned to the ground. The internal battery is at 0. And right here lies the main trap of so-called new content. To watch a brand new series, you have to pay with energy. Seriously, watching a new release is hard work for the brain. You have to learn the geography of a new fictional world, memorize 15 new names, follow a tangled plot, catch hidden meanings. Plus, the brain spends a massive amount of resources recognizing new human faces and reading their emotions. That requires calories, which you simply do not have at the end of a hard day. But rewatching the old stuff? That's autopilot mode. The brain doesn't need to strain itself, it can just exist. It is pure cognitive offloading. You don't need stimulation, you need rest. A familiar show turns into mental white noise, the perfect way to get a dose of entertainment without paying a single drop of mental energy for it. You might be looking at the screen, but your brain is actually physically repairing the neural connections that got damaged during the day. Now let's dig into what makes us cry over a scene we've already seen a dozen times. Why does it still trigger such strong emotions, even if we know exactly what happens next? And that brings us to the third type, the nostalgic anchors. This is probably the deepest and most non-obvious reason. For these people, rewatching a movie has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening on the screen. The show for them is a time machine. Maybe they watched this movie with someone who is no longer around, or someone they parted ways with forever. Or maybe it was a period in their own life when the world felt bigger, problems were easier to solve, and the future looked bright and clear. By putting this movie on, that person is taking an emotional journey through time. The screen becomes a portal, not to a fictional universe, but to a past version of themselves. Every rewatch is a date with their own past. Life goes on, people change, we get older, we lose loved ones, we change cities and jobs. But this movie, it's frozen in time. It's always waiting for you in the exact same state you left it 5 or 10 years ago. That's exactly why people often shed a tear during familiar moments. They aren't crying over a fictional breakup of characters. They are mourning the time and the feelings they had during their very first watch. For them, letting go of this show means letting go of a piece of their identity. They come back to it not because they forgot the plot, but because they are absolutely terrified of forgetting what it felt like to be that person. But wait, not everyone watches old stuff out of exhaustion or longing for the past. There are those who do it out of pure sport, and this completely breaks the stereotype that people who rewatch movies are just lazy and lack imagination. The fourth type, the detail hunters. These guys aren't stuck in the past, and they aren't hiding from stress. They rewatch content because they are incredibly curious. They have a completely different structure of perception. For them, a quality movie or series isn't just a story from point A to point B. It's a multi-layered puzzle. They are convinced that during the first watch, the human brain is physically incapable of catching all the nuances. They are looking for how the lighting setup in Season 1 hints at the finale in Season 5. They watch the micro-expressions of background actors, strange objects in the frame, the director's hidden Easter eggs. Psychologists link this behavior to a high level of openness to experience and a highly developed analytical mind. The brains of these people love looking for hidden patterns and building non-obvious connections. For them, rewatching isn't repetition, it's a research expedition. And every time they notice a new, tiny detail they missed the previous 9 times, they get a massive dopamine hit. It's like finding hidden treasure in a place you've walked past for years. For them, a piece of art isn't finished until they've taken it apart down to the molecules. So, let's put the whole picture together. We looked at 4 completely different mechanisms, and what do all these people have in common? None of them are degrading. None of them are stuck in their development. On the contrary, each of them intuitively gives their psyche exactly what it desperately needs right now. The comfort seeker protects their sanity from the madness of the outside world. The cognitive restorer saves their brain from burnout by conserving leftover energy. The nostalgic anchor carefully preserves their personal history and connection with themselves. And the detail hunter trains their intellect and deepens their experience. All of them are absolutely right. And if you recognized yourself in even one of them, it's time to stop feeling guilty in front of this cult of endless productivity and novelty. We live in a society that constantly demands us to be on trend. Haven't seen the new hit everyone is writing about? You have nothing to talk about with your co-workers at the water cooler. Don't know what's topping the streaming charts right now? You're falling behind. We are aggressively force-fed the idea that the endless consumption of new content makes us interesting, developed personalities. But let's be honest. Does watching a mediocre but trendy show really make you a deeper person? Or maybe, understanding exactly what brings you comfort and restores your energy makes you more self-aware? The people who choose their favorite old movie time and time again probably understand themselves much better than those who swallow everything in sight just out of fear of missing out, without even taking the time to digest it. Sometimes the most correct and healthy thing you can do for your mental health is to ignore the screaming billboards, close the recommendation lists, and turn on that one episode you can quote with your eyes closed. Because in a world where everything is constantly changing, breaking, and rebuilding, having your own unchanging harbor isn't a weakness, it's your privilege. Drop a comment below, which of these 4 types are you? And let me know what movie or show is your personal ultimate comfort blanket that you've been coming back to for years. I really want to see what we all watch when we just need to breathe. And if this breakdown made you look at yourself differently, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.